Welcome to Politipeeps. My name is Edward Hofer. We're here with Larry Sharpe today. Larry, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What's the most interesting thing that's happened to you since we spoke last?
My house is being painted, and the advantage of painting your house is that you get to clean your house. That's the advantage, which I wasn't aware of that. And I also realized that people who paint houses well aren't just house painters. They are wall repairers. So I figured that out also, because I haven't been in a house in a long time. And the problem was we were thinking about actually moving. You know, I ran for governor last year. 2 years ago is when I started it. We were actually considering leaving New York about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. So we weren't going to paint or fix up a house at all. We were just going to sell it and move. Then when I decided to run, we thought maybe we'll stay. Well, the problem is after that running, I did take a salary for 1.5 years. So we basically were broke. So now we've decided we're going to stay. So we decided, you know what? We're going to paint the house. So we thought, should we fix the house up and paint it and spend some money or not? And there's an advantage of being in debt. Once you're in debt, you're in debt. Just go. So we decided to just, you know what? Let's just do this. And that's it. So now we're painting almost the whole house, fixing the walls, get it all done. And let's hope we make some money next couple of years and pay it off.
That does sound pretty interesting. So today we have...
Also painful.
Oh, yeah. Debt is very painful.
Also painful.
Cleaning and repairs exposes all sorts of insufficiencies.
Absolutely.
And that actually has a lot to do with my question for you today. There's something universal that almost everybody on the planet experiences. We all seem to feel like our parents have somehow let us down. Mm-hmm. No matter how good they are, there's always something. It's like, when I was a kid, you didn't do blank. And hopefully we still feel love and respect for our parents. And when we do have that loving, respectful relationship, how should we behave when we want to confront our parents about their insufficiencies how they raised us?
There's several things to remember. And the first thing is, parents are just human. So every single parent makes mistakes because humans make mistakes. So no parent's perfect. There's no doubt, right? I hope that my kids think I'm a good dad, but I'm by no means perfect. I'm sure I'm making errors. And I'm sure when they grow up, they're going to say, I wish my dad did this or did that or whatever. I'm sure that's going to happen. My hope is that compared to other parents, that the I wish my dad dids are less, don't have much of an impact, and they can handle them. That is my hope. So I think it's normal that happens. But there are two things. The first thing is, why does it matter? Second, why should you confront them? Two things, and I hear this all the time. It's my dad's fault, my parents' fault, and I got to talk to them about this and confront them about that. Okay, both of those two questions. Why does it matter? So now I'm 20 years old and things are bad because I copied my parents' habits or my parents didn't do things for me. Okay, I get it. You can be upset about it. You can be mad, feel betrayed, feel that they didn't do a good job, whatever, fine. But at some point, aren't you responsible for your own life to fix it? At some point, shouldn't you simply go, you know what? My parents weren't perfect, and there are things that are screwed up, and guess whose responsibility it is to fix? Mine. I have to fix these errors. It's my life. I can't go back to my mom and dad and have them fix me now that I'm 30 or whatever that is, whatever age you figure this out. So the question is, why? Now, did your parents actively hurt you? That's different, right? Were they psychologically, physically, mentally abusive? That's different. Or did they just screw up and make mistakes? Did they just not do things you liked? If they just screwed up and made mistakes, didn't do things you like, welcome to being human. Everyone has that. You're not alone. You're not special. You are like everyone else. And there are parents that aren't perfect. And you might go, that sucks. It doesn't suck. It's the norm. It's the norm. Dogs bark. It's the norm. People have parents who aren't perfect. It's the norm. And you won't be perfect either when you raise kids. Let's just hope you aren't either physically, mentally, or somehow mostly abusive. If that's the case, that's different. Now, should you confront them? If they weren't emotionally abusive, if they weren't, mentally abusive, what's the value? If your parents were physically abusive, what are you going to do? Go back and tell them, stop hitting me? I hope your parents aren't hitting you now if you're an adult. If your parents hit you now and you're an adult, that's your fault. Be very clear. If your parents are still beating you up now and you're an adult, not shame on your parents, shame on you. When you're a kid, you're vulnerable. You're an adult, why the hell are you still around your parents? If my parents were kicking my ass when I was 18, I wouldn't be around them anymore. And you shouldn't either. Now, it may sound harsh. I know it may sound harsh, but it's still true. If your parents were emotionally abusive or mentally abusive, then perhaps with your therapist, the people you're talking to, perhaps the right answer is confront them. That may be true. And if that is true, then I would talk to a professional in mental health and say, how should I deal with this issue to confront them to make your healing better? I get that completely. If you require healing from that, and there are many people that it happens to, please consult your mental health professional to get that healing that's going to work best for you. But if you're just angry at them, walk away and fix yourself. It's time to forgive. There are many people that I deal with who have problems with their parents all the time. And I ask the very important question, why won't you forgive her if it's the mom? Why won't you forgive him if it's the dad? Well, she was this thing. And I say, I understand she was all these things. I got it. Why won't you forgive her? Well, because I got it, but you're holding on to it. Is she? No, she doesn't care. So right now, if I'm clear, the only person angry is you, and the only person hurting is you. So if you forgive them and aren't angry and aren't hurt, no one's hurt. No one's angry. This is all on you. The issue you want to think about, is that possible? Now you might say, but, and I hear this all the time, but Larry, I want her to say sorry. Okay, then how about you go to her and just tell her how you feel. But she did. Don't tell her what she did. Tell her how you feel. Well, she won't change. She's not going to change no matter what you say. So how about instead go to her and tell her how you feel. When people ask me how to confront, I don't use the word confront, but how to deal with your parents, if you have some big issue with your parents, go to your mom or your dad and just tell them how you feel. And when they come up with excuses, parents will always come up with excuses. Don't fight them or even bring up specifics. Just repeat how you feel. That's it. They will come with excuses. You go, I understand, Mom. I understand, Dad, and walk away. That's it. All you want is to let them know how you feel. You will feel better. You won't feel perfect, but you'll feel better. If you argue, you'll feel worse. If you fall for their trap of details and this and that, you'll feel worse. If you just tell them how you feel and leave, you'll feel better. If that gets off your chest enough, you can forgive them. Just forgive them and move on. Forgiving them actually makes you feel better. They may or may not, but you can't control them. All you can control is yourself. So if you feel you need to say something, just tell them. That's it. Don't expect a sorry. Don't expect I made a mistake. Expect nothing. Expect them to just come up with excuses to why they did what they did. You may or may not believe their excuses. Their excuses may be real, and they may not be real. I don't know your parents, but it doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel. That's real, and that's how it matters. Tell them that. Forgive them and move on. Larry, that's hard. Yes, and required, because the alternative is you hold that for the rest of your life. You hold that, and it affects your personal relationships. It affects how you deal with your kids. It affects how you deal with your girlfriend, boyfriend. It affects how you deal with everything you do. And you start sitting there on Saturday mornings and call your friend, and you complain 6 hours about your mom or your dad, and you're 35 years old. What the hell are you doing? You should be doing other things with your life. So instead, tell your parents how you feel, forgive them, and go on with your life. And your parents will either accept it and move on, or they won't. Either way, but you'll move on. And that's what matters. At one point in your life, it's irrelevant what your parents did to you. At one point in your life, blame is irrelevant. At one point in your life, the responsibility is all that matters, and that's yours. My parents were not perfect either, by no means. Literally, my birth parents got me up for adoption. My adopted parents, my father was a philanderer, actually cheated on my mom multiple times. I saw him do it, threatened to kill her. That was my father. And I still love him, and I still felt loved, and I forgive him. My mom was an addict, and I still love her, even when before she died, and I forgave her too. And I had a good relationship with both of them because of that. I'm not just talking trash. I know I have the same issues, and I did exactly what I told you. I told them how I felt one time. That was it. I never brought it up ever again, because the problems that most of them felt, they, at least my parents, were semi-remorseful for almost everything they did. My mom was very remorseful. My father was kind of, but they were remorseful. So me bringing it up was just squishing a wound and putting my thumb in a wound and making things worse. So I said it once to myself feel better. I forgave them, and I had a good relationship. When both of them died, and my father died many years ago, my mother's a couple years ago. In both cases, I had a good relationship with both. I'm not just talking trash. I live this stuff. Forgive them. Makes sense.
So the goal is to figure out a way to move forward in your relationship instead of constantly looking backward.
It's not helpful. And the most important piece in this is, but Larry, I'm right. I got it. Your righteousness is not helpful. That's all I'm saying. You may be right, and your parents may be bad parents. I don't know your parents. Maybe they made horrible mistakes. And so what? That's not helpful, is it? You're in your position right now suffering. You can either forgive them and unscrew your own life, or I'm going to be righteous and keep getting angry until they say sorry and throw 10 years, if not more years of your life away.
So if you're constantly looking backward, make sure that, have you expressed yourself to whoever you have this resentment or hang up for? And if the answer to that is yes, then the problem now is with you, and you need to figure out how to move forward on your own.
Absolutely, 100%.
So let's take it in a slightly different direction. You've had your past, and you think maybe your parents were abusive or whatever, and now you're in a relationship, and you see some similar patterns to how your parents were behaving. Or maybe it's a new pattern that you've created yourself, but you're asking yourself, am I being abused? How do you determine whether you're being abused? And then if you think you are, what do you do then?
This is a tough one also, because the sad part is very often our parents are our image of manhood or womanhood, right? Very often that relationship is what we see as what the relationship is supposed to be about, right? So if our parents were abusive to each other or to us, we often think that's what love is, right? We sometimes think that if my father beats me, it's because he loves me. So that's what love is, being beaten or beating someone, right? That's what love is. And as that may seem odd, if that's all we know, then very often that can be what we start to do naturally. The biggest thing to remember is, if we don't actively try not to do this, we will become our parents. It's just human nature. We become our parents. We have to have responsibility for this and realize our parents weren't perfect. Let's take the good and avoid the bad, or take what we enjoy and push what we don't enjoy. If you see yourself doing that, stop. Now, I have that in me. Again, I'm not just talking trash. My father was all about spank first, hit first, ask questions later. That's who he was. Spank first, ask questions later. That's who he was, absolutely. He would hit me with a belt, a belt buckle, a slipper, a shoe. Didn't matter, right? In fact, he would open up the closet. When it was hanging in the closet, he'd pick up and hit me with it, right? And not even ask questions, hit and ask questions later, right? That was his thing. Do you think I don't feel that? Of course I do. I have children of my own. And when they make me angry, luckily not anymore. My children are a bit older now. But when they were younger and I was a new father, I had a natural inclination to hit them. Of course I did. My father taught me that's what you do. Of course I felt that. But I knew that it was wrong and I shouldn't do it. Why? Not because hitting your kid is wrong. I'm not judging you in that. But because I knew what was in me. And my father was very aggressive. And I knew he went too far. And I knew that was in me. So I knew for me, hitting my kids was not an option because I could go too far. So I stopped and I didn't. And I still don't. Now my kids are older. I don't have that desire anymore. But I still had it in me. I had to accept that that was going to pop up in me and then not do it. My father was also someone who had lots of girlfriends, even though he was with my mother. And I knew I had that in me too. So there are many things I do to make sure that I don't. Right? I do things. People tease me. They tease me because I have some of the Mike Pence ideas. Right? Mike Pence won't go out with women. I'm not that bad, but there are many things I won't do. I will try not to put myself in positions to where it will be awkward with another woman. I try to avoid those things. Right? I'm not going to go out drinking alone with a woman or something like that. Right? That I'm not saying I won't meet. Well, of course I will, but I'm not going to put myself in a situation to where things could be bad. Or I'm not going to let some woman come to my hotel room at night because we're friends. I'm not going to do that. That's not going to happen. They might say, Larry, that's sexist. No, that's smart. Particularly in today's world where if I'm even caught close to that, someone will say I did something and I did, so I don't do any of that. But I know that's in me, right? So I see that. You have to accept that there are certain things like that in you from your parents. And if you see that, you have to change them. It's your responsibility. Now, if you see it in someone else who you think you're being abused, if you have something in your past, right, meaning you've been abused in the past, you've had bad boyfriends, bad girlfriends, an abusive father or mother, if you had it in your past, and you think maybe it is, don't fool yourself. If you think maybe it is, accept it as true. If you don't have it in your past, it might not be true. Have the conversation, sit back and talk it out. But it is. Just assume it is. Because you're going to want to accept it because you know it. So if your dad abused you or your dad abused your mom and you saw that way and also you get to a relationship and you're getting abused, you might say to yourself, yeah, I'm being abused. Time to leave. Time to get out. Walk away. Just get out of that. Get out of the situation. As a general rule, it's not 100% rule. It's a good general rule. If something happens once that you think is bad or wrong and inappropriate, once, ask your spouse what was their intent. If it makes sense and you get it and you still have love in your heart for that person, as a general rule, forgive them and move on. General rule. If it happens a second time, ball game's over. End it. Second time.
So end it. Go get a counselor.
Something.
Get the opinion from a therapist or a professional. And
or your friend or your mom, whoever you trust.
Be prepared to just get out.
Yes. I think, again, it's a general rule. You know your relationship better than I do. But as a general rule, anyone can make a mistake. Anyone can screw up. That can happen. We are humans. It can happen. Even infidelity. I'll even go that far. Even someone cheating, right? As a general rule, again, I'm being general, guys. There are always exceptions. As a general, even infidelity is a symptom of a bad problem. It isn't the problem itself. So even infidelity can be a mistake or an error that someone regrets. It can be. I think you talk it out when it's once. You talk it out. And if it makes sense, and if you still have love, and if you still want to be in a relationship, go. There are relationships that get stronger after infidelity. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying it does happen, right? It does happen. I've actually met people who said, I wish my husband cheated on me 10 years ago. Because she had a 10-year bad marriage. But once he cheated on her, he had a great marriage. They're like, wow, why did we go through the hell? Cheat on me earlier, and we can have a good marriage now. Now, I'm exaggerating, obviously, to make it cute and entertaining, but the concept is real. If someone makes a mistake, I think you have a conversation to see if it makes sense, if their intent was there or not, if there's still love in the relationship, if you still want to be there. I think you then forgive and move on. If it's a second time, I think that's the game.
So you need a reason to address the underlying problem.
Absolutely.
It's not that, oh, please go be unfaithful. It's we need a reason to address something that we're both trying to avoid is what's happening.
Hopefully you'll see a sign of something bad before things like infidelity, right? Yeah. I hope you do, right? So maybe you see signs like, she's not coming home on weekends all of a sudden. She's out on business trips, on weekends, 3 weekends in a row. Maybe she's cheating, maybe she's not, but you see this, you go, okay, it's a problem. Talk it out. Now she's lying to you. Okay, she's lying to you. Okay, that's a problem. One time, let's talk it out. She's lying again, it's probably the game.
Yeah, so pay attention before it comes to something where there's no way to pretend anymore.
Or just once you see the problem, address it, have the conversation. If you can't have the conversation, that's when you grab the therapist, the counselor, the coach, the dad, the priest, the whomever is appropriate in your world, the in-laws, whatever works, right? Depending upon your culture and your family, bring them in. Once that's done, now we're good.
That's heavy. Powerful advice. So Larry, how can people reach you?
As always, go to thesharpeway.com, the Sharpe Way, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
Thank you. And from PolitiPeeps, if you enjoyed this video, please like, and if you haven't already, subscribe and share it around a little bit. Ring the bell if you'd like notifications.